If the goal of implementing cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, CBT-I techniques, is to help you learn that sleep cannot be controlled and help you to try to reduce sleep-related worry and just lead to you spending less time thinking about sleep, how do you make progress when CBT-I itself is quite regimented in terms of guidelines and tracking progress? Well, this is what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. Hi, I'm Martin Reed. If you have insomnia, I offer sleep coaching programs that will give you all the skills and support you need to enjoy better sleep for the rest of your life. You can learn more at insomniacoach.com. Now, one of the main outcomes, one of the main goals that we're looking for with CBT-I techniques is that you learn to understand that sleep cannot be controlled and that sleep is a natural process, and that as soon as we try to intervene, as soon as we worry about sleep, as soon as we try and control sleep, sleep becomes more difficult. So with this in mind, how does implementing new techniques and monitoring for results help you achieve this goal? Well, this is a great question that I get asked a few times, each week probably, and my response is this. With CBT-I, it is a collection of techniques that requires attention and it requires commitment and persistence. And you need to implement these techniques in order to get your sleep back on track, ideally in the quickest way possible. And implementing CBT-I techniques, I believe, is the quickest way to help get your sleep back on track. Now, one argument is that because CBT-I is quite regimented in terms of it gives you a specific and clear plan to follow, how does this take attention away from sleep? Because ultimately, just as before you had insomnia, you would never really think about sleep, we want you to get back to that point again. So with CBT-I, I believe that implementing the techniques is just part of the process to helping you reach that goal. And in the short term, it perhaps does lead to you paying more attention to sleep because you're trying to practice new techniques, you're trying to implement new techniques. But these techniques are going to help you improve your sleep, and as your sleep starts to improve, you'll naturally become less concerned about your sleep and spend less time thinking about it, certainly less time trying to control it. So the argument that CBT-I can bring more attention on sleep and therefore maybe it's not a good option for people with insomnia is somewhat flawed, because I would kind of compare this to if you have a headache. If you then took aspirin or paracetamol or ibuprofen, surely that's going to draw attention to your headache and make you think more about your headache. Whereas it doesn't really, it just helps to treat those symptoms. And in a way, this is just what CBT-I does. It helps treat the symptoms of your insomnia. But it's more effective than that because it actually delves deeper and it gets to the root cause of insomnia. It gets to these perpetuating thought processes and behaviors that are making it really hard for you to get rid of your insomnia. And what happens with CBT-I is once you notice these improvements in sleep, you start to become less concerned with sleep. And you get to that point where you just recognize that sleep is this natural process. And once you get to that point, ultimately, you don't need to be implementing CBT-I techniques anymore, just like you don't need to be taking headache pills when you don't have a headache. But they're always there for you. These techniques are always there for you should you ever go through a period of bad sleep again in the future. In a way, it's kind of like if you broke your leg, you would seek help and get a plaster cast. You're not going to be in that plaster cast forever. You're just going to be in it until your leg heals. And it's really the same with CBT-I. You're just going to be implementing the CBT-I techniques until you start to see improvements in your sleep. And what typically happens is once you start to see these improvements, once you start to see these techniques working, you just naturally worry less about sleep. You recognize that trying to control sleep isn't helpful, And when you're also tracking your sleep at the same time through the use of a sleep diary, you're also seeing these improvements over time. And this gives you more confidence in your ability to sleep. And you'll then reach the point where you feel that you don't need to rely on these CBT-I techniques anymore. So you can start to no longer keep a sleep diary, for example. You can start experimenting with weekend lie-ins, or you can start giving yourself more time for sleep. And then in the future, if you ever go through a bad period of sleep again, you know that you can just re-implement the techniques that you know have been effective for you in the past. They're there for you. It doesn't mean that you're going to be using them forever every single night. It's just this collection of skills and techniques that you know you can implement should sleep ever become a problem for you again in the future. So really, the beauty of CBT-I is it's really a short-term intervention, normally of just 2-3 months, to help you get your sleep back on track and notice these positive improvements. Some people get results quicker, some people take longer to get results. But once you start seeing these improvements, in my experience, people find their whole mindset changes, and you no longer need to rely on these CBT-I techniques because you have this confidence back in your ability to sleep. You find that you're no longer really monitoring sleep. You're not recording anything about your sleep. You're not even really thinking about sleep. And that's the point that CBT-I wants to get you to. But in order to get to that point, it is important to implement certain evidence-based techniques that have worked for countless people and that are really effective. So it's really this short-term intervention to make long-term gains in your sleep and help you get to that point where you're not really thinking about sleep and you're certainly no longer really monitoring sleep. So I hope you found this short video helpful. If you did, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. I do try and share a few new videos each week. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, or suggestions for a future video, please leave a comment below, or you can email me directly. My email address is hello@insomniacoach.com. I hope to see you back here again soon, and remember, you can sleep.